When we look at human history, there have been years where there have been massive leaps in technology, from stone to bronze, the Wright brothers to Neil Armstrong, and the most major one of all, the creation of the spear to the hydrogen bomb. Human history is plagued with wars, as is seemingly our nature, to fight one another over any reason. Whether it be racial fights or territorial issues, humans have fought over many issues that are extremely broad. But one thing is the same: humanity will always figure out a way to surpass the limits of destruction. Prime example being atomic bombs. Now, when we discuss atomic and hydrogen bombs, there is one key example that one will always refer to for discussing the consequences of the nuclear option. That being Hiroshima, 1945. This is, fortunately, the only example of nuclear weapons being actively used on any civilian, and is by far the greatest consequence of war against one another. There are many studies into the consequence of nuclear weapons. However, there are few that have directly stood out and stand as the most impactful reasoning of the fallout of nuclear weapons and why they shouldn't be used. This is the information that I have gathered. First off, since the nuking of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, numerous tests have been done on the consequence of dropping of the bomb, the most prominent being the radiation sickness that many citizens contracted. Children exposed to the radiation at a young age face intellectual disabilities, impaired growth, and a higher risk of attaining cancer. The citizens alive to this day have an increased risk of contracting the cancer. Pregnant women, too, were not safe. Pregnant women who were exposed to the atomic bomb faced issues such as infant mortality and miscarriages. Many unborn children who were exposed to the atomic bomb were never born. After the atomic bomb had been set off, Hiroshima was absolutely decimated. There were little to no hospitals to take care of any civilians, leaving many to succumb to their terrible wounds, alone and suffering. But it's not only the Japanese who have suffered from the effects of nuclear radiation. Nuclear weapons have had severe environmental impacts on the environment and the people. The U.S. National Library of Medicine conducted a study and found a significant increase in the radionuclide known as 14C. Along with this, any person who was exposed to the substance had gained an increased chance of attaining papillary thyroid cancer, showing that these tests affected everyone and everything. However, there is a decent chunk of people who actually believe nuclear weapons, in fact, should be kept rather than dismantled. The ones who argue for this say that nuclear weapons are the only thing keeping us safe from total annihilation by means of more destructive weapons. Think of it as a cap on the bottle. The water inside is being filled up as the increase in destructive weapons, and the cap is nuclear weapons. If that cap were to be taken off, the water would keep filling and filling until it eventually reaches an overflow. This group also believes that nuclear weapons keep both superpowers at bay from thus destroying each other. A quote from Chinese General Fu Kuan-yu, headed the People's Liberation Army General Staff until 2002, says this on the nuclear weapons cap. The US and Soviet superpowers both had strong nuclear capabilities, able to destroy one another many a times, so they did not dare to clash with each other directly. War capabilities, above a certain point, change into war-limiting capabilities. This quote, in layman's terms, is a reasoning that nuclear weapons are the opposite of destruction and are, in fact, weapons of peace, because no one wants to wake up to the sunrise at 1 in the morning. Both countries share a silent, very flimsy agreement that when nuclear weapons are involved, they tread lightly or call it off altogether. If countries were to go with the nuclear option and a NATO country were to be hit, a doctrine called mutually assured destruction, or MAD, would call for all NATO countries to launch their nuclear weapons at the opposing country to assure full and total destruction. This was made as the last resort to assure that no country would attempt anything overkill on any NATO countries. In conclusion, nuclear weapons aren't simply tools of destruction, but also the pinnacle of human hatred. We as a species strive to fight one another in conflict, and to surpass each other's destructive capabilities. Nuclear weapons are the lid that's been placed to keep that pot from boiling over. However, the consequences of nuclear weapons brought down onto the good citizens of Japan show that nuclear weapons are also a horrifying tool for stopping the leaders who wage war with civilians, men, women, and children alike, being the ones who are killed in this game of chess where they are the pawns. And even in times of peace, the testing of nuclear weapons can also cause civilians to be affected, making nuclear weapons the greatest consequence against humanity.